make sure you grab different color spray paints, different size thread edges, and everyday household items like cups or lids. My name is Arturo Lopez, and I created Spraycasso Studios back in 1999. I have then continued to show people diverse ways of creating master paintings in just a few minutes using nothing more than just spray paints and everyday household items. The beauty of this art is that you don't have to have a steady hand or know how to draw. All it requires is a little bit of imagination and some dedication. So join us, and you too can become a Spraycasso master. I will walk you through diverse techniques of creating beginner level paintings, intermediate level paintings and techniques, advanced level paintings, and we'll take your skills even further to master level paintings. So if you guys are ready to embark into a new art adventure, then grab your spray paints and materials. Let's get started. Alright guys, this is going to be the introduction to the art of spray paint. Now, most of you guys have seen most of my tutorials, if not my show on television. And one thing I always tell everybody is that spray paint, you don't really need to have a steady hand or know how to draw. Does it help? Sure. Is it necessary? By no means, no. But in this first tutorial, we're going to talk about using everyday household items. You could use a spray can, something round, a cup, a bowl, and just everyday household items that you can find around the house. In this case, I'm going to use a bowl. This is a little bowl. And it helps if you get different size bowls. See that? You can go smaller, you can use coins. This is a cap to a piece of pipe. You can use that. The caps to your spray paints. They're child-proof caps. Those caps. Right there, see? And you're looking for an edge that is not dull. So you don't want anything that bends inward. You know, you guys have seen those bowls that the plastic comes in and it bends in and it's got this round. You don't want the round. You want something that is sharp, just like this. See, this bowl has a sharp edge to it. See that? Alright, the spray cans, sharp edge as well. So when you remove it, it won't remove most of the paint that's underneath. So that's important, guys. Okay, so we're going to talk about layers in this first painting. And let's get started. We're going to work with planets. Space paintings is the most basic art form that you can start with the art of spray paint, because it covers a little bit of everything, including depth, layers, layer manipulation, and colors, the way you place things down. So you're going to need a poster board. Poster board is usually glossy on one end, matted on the other. We want to use the glossy end. It's very important. The matted side absorbs the paint, and we don't want that. We want most of the paint to be retained on the canvas itself. So let's begin by creating the most basic style of spray paint out there, which is space painting, right? So you start with planets. In this case, our bowls. Now I know what you're thinking, you know, they don't look much like planets. Well, not yet. And I know that most of you are still thinking, well, you know, Spray, I can't draw. I'm telling you, you don't really need it. Alright, so see, now we have, what I did there is I just added a little bit of black around my stencils. That way I have something to go by. Most spray painters out there that I've seen will get a bunch of colors and they'll just spray the entire sheet down. That's great for attracting people and getting attention, and you know, if that works for you while you're spray painting life, that's great. But I'm trying to conserve a little bit of spray paint, right? So instead of covering the entire sheet, I'm just going to focus on the areas that I'm gonna start with. In this case, our planets. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways of creating texture, right? Let's start with the basic one. And I'm going to start this with maybe this one down here. Alright? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add green, right? Okay, here's another thing, guys. Before every use, make sure you shake your cans and you spray them off somewhere on the side. I usually have a trash can and I spray it in there for a second or two. That way you use most of the clear stuff that comes out, which is a drying chemical, and you know, the glossy material that it's in there. And that comes out, and then the colors will begin to mix. So you want to make sure you shake them right before doing this. It's very important. It will make a big difference on your painting. Okay, so we have our light color on the bottom, which is green, and we want that green to come through. So we're going to use a little bit of black. And notice it's not too much, just enough to cover it. I've had a lot of people ask me before, you know, Spray, I've noticed that my paints are real runny. Well, that can be two things. You didn't shake your can before every use, or you're using way too much. I know, what is way too much? Well, as you get more experienced, everybody's technique is a little bit different, so that's totally going to depend on to you. To begin with, try using very light layers. This is a magazine sheet, very glossy. You don't want to use any newspaper. Glossy will create a better effect for this. So we're just going to go ahead and place that down. You don't put any pressure on it, right? You just put it down and remove it. Take a look at that. Alright, so you've created your first texture. And this is what it looks like when you remove it. Right? Pretty colorful, right? It's got a lot of texture to it as well. You can always go over it and remove a little bit more. And the more you do it and remove, see, the more texture you'll get to it. Now let's say this happens, where you have this clear area and you really don't like the clear area. Add a little bit more black to it. Right? Something like this. Look at that. So remember, guys, everything on spray painting is fixable. Right now, okay, given you drop the painting, lands on the floor, okay, maybe there we have an issue, but other than that, something like this, it's always fixable. Alright guys, now I don't mean to confuse you with this next technique, but remember how I told you you want your light colors underneath and then the dark on top, and you remove that. This is not only going to apply just to planets, it applies to texture on the terrain as well. So this is a very important technique. The only time I make the exception that I've come across is when you're making icebergs or ice, or in this case a planet that looks like Earth. So in this case I would put my dark color underneath, being blue. I know, guys, I don't mean to confuse you, believe me, but it works a lot better, because in this case you want to remove the white, right, so that you can see the blue coming through. Otherwise it won't look as good. Look at that. I know, you would think, well, you know, it should look too different. It really does. Okay, so this looks like an icy planet, right? There's water, obviously. There's quite a bit of texture. I really like this technique. Now, if you want to line it up a little bit more so it's not as blue, you add a little bit of white. Do the same thing. Now, take a look at that. Now, another thing you can do, guys, is you can put your paper down and then smear it a little bit, right? And it gives you like a twirly effect. I'm not sure if twirly is a proper word, but it sounds cool. So, twirly. Today's painting is brought to you by the word twirly. And take a look at that. Real icy, real rocky. Alright. So, now we have two planets down, two different textures, two different techniques. If you want to know what it would look like, let's say you change your mind on this, right? Well, we already have a dark color underneath. Add a little bit of white on top of that. Let's do the twirly technique. Actually, you guys probably won't ever hear me say that again, but there you go. You just take it, turn it. Different texture. I like that. I really like that. Okay, I think I'll leave it like that. Let's work on the next planet, and I have a special treat for you on the other planet. On this planet, we're going to use different colors. I know, it's going to be pretty cool. Alright, so I'm just going to use a little bit of orange here, right? Okay, we're going to use a little bit of red. Okay, just like that. Maybe some yellow. Oh, need to shake that can. See, I don't follow my own advice. So it's kind of like do as I say and not as I do. Okay, a little bit of green. Okay, now we have our colors down, right? Very bright. We're going to cover that with white. Yes, this technique is very important. It's very sophisticated. Just like that, right? You'll see me use this technique quite a bit. I actually came up with this technique when I was trying to figure out how to get out of the space realm, do something else, more realistic. And it's worked great. So what I did here is I took a piece of magazine, fold it in the shape of a U. You don't want to bend it hard. So, right, something like this. And very gently, you want to smear the colors back and forth. More than smear, you want to combine them. This is what I call the Liquify Technique. This is what made my my waters, my rivers, turn out more realistic. It's really caught the attention of several spray painters. At the time, they thought I wasn't using spray paints to create this effect. But, you know, here it is, guys. So now take a look at that. Look at all the ripples in there. So that's how you can create water. More realistic looking planets. It doesn't necessarily have to be this colorful, guys. You can have kind of like the same colors that you see in Mars. Maybe some just orange and red. Maybe a black stripe in the middle. Experiment with it. No? I'll show you the techniques. And you guys can set your imagination loose on this. So, okay, so far we have the 3 planets, 3 different textures. Here's the tricky part. A lot of people don't want to do this, but it is very important, guys. It is very important. Let's choose where we have a light source. So if we have, let's say we have a star right here, right? So the light is coming from this direction, so that means that the shadows will be on this end, on all 3 planets. This is a mistake that I've seen a lot of newcomers to the art do, where they'll make a star here without thinking about the position of the light. So they'll put the star here and the shadows will be in different directions. You can pull that off, but it's a little harder. So let's stay realistic here, and let's add some shadows. Now this is the tricky part, guys. Yes, you are gonna have to spray some black on these planets. I know I've taught a lot of students over the years, and this has always been the toughest part for them, to spray paint on top of the newly created textures. Okay, I'm running out of spray paint. Make sure when you buy spray paint, guys, you buy at least 2 black, 2 gloss black, 2 gloss white, and all of the colors are mostly gloss nowadays. Try and stay away from the matted colors. So you want everything to stay gloss, it works better. Alright, a second. And a little trick that I always do, when you can, you want to color the top. That way you know what colors you have. It works better in the long run. Alright, so now we've added our black on there. Alright, let's add a little bit more black to this one. Oh, didn't follow my advice again. Make sure you always shake your cans before every use. Nice. Alright, so by the position of the shadow here, I'm determining that the light source is going to have to be somewhere around here. So that's something good to keep in mind, right? I know you guys maybe don't see a lot of spray painters do that, but this is the thought pattern behind it. So I know we usually move a little bit faster when we're spray painting live. Now you want to get some of this black underneath too. It's very important to get some of that black. So we'll just drop it, no pressure on it. Right, something like there. And right there. Okay. Now, let's create that light source that I was talking about. I'm going to start off with maybe some red. Let's start with our dark colors first. Right? A little bit of orange. Right, you see that transition from orange to red? Okay, and some yellow. Nice. Now, I did this on purpose, and I want you guys to see why. Did you notice I started off with the red, and then the orange, and then the yellow? Okay, and then the yellow overpowered most of them. Okay, that is a really cool effect, except I think the effect that we're really looking for in this case is for the other colors to overpower a little bit more of the yellow rather than the yellow overpowering them. So keep this technique in mind, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start with the bright color first. So in this case, I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to leave it. Let's say you made this mistake. So, I'm going to leave the yellow, and then I'm going to work my way backwards. So I'm going to add a little bit of orange. So what you do is you use the orange, right? And then the red. So now your painting is more colorful and not as bright. You don't have this bright yellow light. So always start with your light colors first, and then your darker colors on top, or warmer colors. Okay. Let's see. See this white spot? You want to try and eliminate as most of the white spots as possible on all of your paintings, guys. Okay. So use the orange, use the red, and if you have to go over it one more time with the yellow, it's okay. Just try not to overpower everything else with it. Alright, so now we have this bright yet colorful, right, lighting effect here. Look at that. Now, I'm going to add what I call the Nebula Technique. A lot of spray painters out there still don't use this technique. I don't know why. It is a really cool technique. And notice I'm just adding color throughout the painting, covering the white spots. And let's use a little bit of green. So I'm making this very colorful. Right? You can use green, blue, and red. Those are the colors I use the most when creating this Nebula technique. And notice how colorful our background is. That's great, but we're still in space, so we have to use a little bit of black here. Now it is very important to use black around your planets. Planets will look much, much better than with other colors. Black and white are the neutral colors, and they work very well with the rest of the colors. So what the black is going to do is going to make sure that the colors that you used on your planets, it's going to make them stand out more, to where if you have other colors around them, it's going to blend in with the colors that you have. So you want to use neutral on that. Now, I am going over some of these areas, but I'm not completely covering the blue, the green, the red. I'm leaving those colors there. Look at that. Alright, so now what we're going to do, this is the start technique. Now it's always a little bit hard to use the start technique with the new can, and this is a new can. We're going to create some stars, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to get the spray paint. Right now it's facing at a 90-degree angle this way. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn the can and aim 45 degrees away from the painting. And very gently, just let your trigger finger squeeze the cap. Now look at that. Instant stars. Right? See that? So now you've created an entire galaxy with a space nebula in the background, a nice sun here on this side, and I'm going to show you something else, something real cool. Alright, now first of all, we've already managed to create depth in this painting, right? Because there's bigger stars, there are smaller stars. That gives a lot of depth to the perception in this painting. So, which is good. And it's a very complicated effect that you've managed to create with just a few sprinkles of white spray paint. Otherwise it would just be a black background, right, with the planet sticking out of it. This is a straight edge. One of the tools that I use the most in spray painting. I've managed to create a lot of techniques using the straight edge, so it's become a very influential and very necessary tool. And notice this is one of the techniques that we're going to be using. This is going to be the sun. We're going to create a star. So what we're going to do is, when you use the straight edge, you don't want to spray. Let's say your painting is here, right? You don't want to spray here. No. You never do that, right? Look at that. It makes a mess. What you want to do is you want to spray up here. And then let the mist come down. So do something like that. Right, so when you remove it, look at that. You managed to create a straight line. So that's the effect we're going for. Not the bludgy, just straight line. So we're going to aim right here. In fact, let me show you guys. Spray paint this black. Right? Put this down. Now, you don't want to put it directly onto your painting because you can move it and scratch it. So you want to stay just a little bit above. Create a line. See where it was black? It's now white. Alright, so we're going to do that all the way around. Look at that. And you can create quite a few rays on there. Let's take a closer look at that. Look at that. See how the sun rays are bursting out? Not very hard, right? You guys can do this. That. Alright. Now then, another very necessary part that you're going to need to learn is Clearcoat. Alright, another very necessary and important part of spray painting is to get to know your media, know how long it stays wet, and to help you with that, Clearcoat. Clearcoat is incredible, guys. It'll help you a lot to create different effects. So in this case, several minutes have gone by since we started on our painting. Usually when you're spray painting live, you don't do as much talking as I do, so you can get one of these paintings out in 3 to 4 minutes, 5 maybe the max. And so you can still do a lot of things to it while the paint is wet. but in this case we've talked a little bit, so the painting is obviously dry, right? You can touch it and nothing's gonna come off. I'm gonna show you two techniques here. One, this you're gonna want to wait. You're either gonna want to put this on the nebula. Remember, the nebula is not very thick in layers, so it dries really quick. And so you put your nebula down, you do your space painting, and you're gonna get a spray can, the white preferably. You're gonna put it down. So this is a sheet. It's gonna come down, and then you're just gonna tap it. Yep, not very. Just put it down and then hit it. Tap it. Let me show you what that does. Look at that. Just created a shooting star. The harder you tap it, the wider the star will look. See that? I'm going to create another one down here somewhere. So you put it down, tap it. Okay, so now you have 3 shooting stars. What I was telling you earlier, take a look at this. We're going to remove this cup down here, this one. Now, this is pretty much dry to the touch. Clearcoat comes in very handy, especially for a beginner, because it will keep your painting moist. It just takes a few coats of it like that, and it is now to be worked on. So you're saying, well, what do you need a moist planet for? What do you need the paint? Well, I'll show you. Now, this is a very important tool. It's become known as the Spraycasso tool. You guys can find this in a lot of arts and crafts stores, and it looks something like this, right? So you can just take off the wrapper, get it out. This is a very similar tool to the Spraycasso tool. This was actually used at one point to clay shaping. But if you guys need the actual Spraycasso tool, it works a lot better. The degree is different on this, the end point down here. But for beginners, go find this tool. I know there's a lot of other spray painters out there that'll tell you to use a palette knife. Don't use a palette knife, guys. Don't. I'm telling you, it's not going to work the same. This is where it's all at, and you'll see how in all my tutorials I use this tool to create all the effects. Let me show you how this is going to help you out here. Make sure it's nice and wet. Alright, so you put your tool down, and then you smear some of that paint this way. Look at that. Yeah? Just created a ring of Saturn. Alright. Now, this is not the only technique that you can use this tool on. I'll show you this as we go through the DVD. But it is very important you use something like this, guys. Seriously, when the art was created, it was created by 4 people. Back in the early 1980s. And I was lucky enough to learn from one of the creators. And then 10 years later, I took what they had learned. And I was actually very involved with art at the time too, so I put what I learned as well and took the art even further. So I'm telling you, what they used to use, it was razor blades to use this tool. Well, razor blades are great, but they are dangerous. I've seen them cut themselves many times or cut the painting. I'm telling you guys, forget the palette knives, forget what the other guys have been telling you. No, go get you one of these tools. Alright. Let's remove the bolts and see what you've created. Huh? Take a look at that planet. Very Earth-like. Get your shooting stars, rings around the Saturn. I don't know the proper name of that, by the way. I just make up my own names as we go along, and I'm Spraycasso, dangammit, so I can do that. Yeah, I wish. Alright guys, well, this painting is officially done. I recommend that you sign it Sign every painting. Always sign it. Now you can put today's date or just the year. In this case, I'm just going to put the year. So Spraycasso 2010. Alright guys, I hope you guys are ready for the next tutorial. This will make a great gift. Friends, loved ones. It's a piece of art in just a few minutes. You guys are ready? Grab your spray paints. Let's get ready for the next tutorial.